Welcome to the Marketing Stack podcast. And today I'm talking to Molly Cahill, who was actually on with me through a Health Pro Summit that we
Mhm.
hosted last year. Molly teaches holistic wellness pros how to leverage Instagram for business growth in less time without, and here's the kicker, without obsessing over likes, comments, and follows. Molly,
Here,
welcome.
here.
Is that beer? I know it's Easter Friday. Is that?
Are you kidding me? It's coffee. It's 10 in the morning here. So
Right. Yeah, I'm winding down. It's almost 10:30 here for
yeah,
me.
yeah.
So yeah, cool. So welcome. Do a short introduction. How did you get into wellness? How did you get into Instagram? And we'll take it from there.
Yeah. So I think with a lot of entrepreneurs, it's kind of an accidental journey, right? Nobody
Mhm.
wakes up and they're like, you know what, I'm going to do this thing. I was in medical sales. My college degree is actually in public relations, and I quickly found out that I hated being behind a desk, the cubicle life. So I went into outside sales, and I was in outside sales for 9 years. The last 6 of those, I was in medical sales, which I don't know what it's like in your part of the world, but for here, it's a great. I mean, the money is great. It was, I was making more money than all my friends in my 20s, right? So it's like, well, what's wrong? Well, I was stressed. I was burnt
Mhm.
out. I was never home, and a large part of my job was dictated by insurance companies as well. So that always sucks. So when I got pregnant with my daughter, who's now 5, my husband is in the military, and we timed it just perfectly. He deployed when I was 37 weeks pregnant.
Wow.
So I can't continue traveling. We had no family. We were living in San Diego, California. I had no family. I can't continue traveling and keeping up the schedule and raising a baby. And so I quit with no plans. I had socked away some cash, and I became friends with my chiropractor, and she said, "Hey, do you want to run my Instagram?" Sure. I have no idea what I'm doing. I had an Instagram, just for personal use, but I certainly had no idea what I was doing. We worked for trade. She adjusted me for free, and I did her Instagram, and it snowballed from there. She had a massage therapist and an acupuncturist in her office, and I soon started doing their accounts, and then word got out with her friends, and I thought, well, I'll just make this a legit business. So the reason I'm focused on the wellness industry is because when I was in medical sales, I called on pain management and addiction clinics, and it's heartbreaking to
Mhm.
see. It's just heartbreaking to see what these like really strong drugs and things have done to people. And I do believe I've had a couple personal things in my life with missteps in conventional medicine that have happened to me and my family. And so I really want to get out like the whole functional medicine, holistic wellness message to more people. So it was a beautiful synergy. So
Mhm.
here we are.
Well, well, I guess it's one of those things of you knowing the industry,
Mm.
n- which helps you obviously know what to post and the
Yes.
guidelines, what you can say and what you can't say, and there's lots of rules
Yes.
and things that
There
that
are.
that go
Yeah.
on there, especially on the advertising side. But I know you don't run advertising.
I
Any
don't. Yeah.
specific reason why no advertising?
I don't run advertising because my brain, I'm a creative brain. And when I get into Facebook Ads Manager, my creative brain starts to short circuit. So,
Mhm.
anybody who's watching this, been inside Facebook Ads Manager, it makes my eye twitch. So, leave that to the pros. It's to me, that's a whole totally different. Now, I can help you set up the copy and create a piece of content that would perform well as an ad. But as far as actually setting up the ins and outs of the ads, that's not my brain.
Yeah. No, that's cool. And I mean, there's a place for everything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
uh, Instagram, as I said to you before the interview started, I'm kind of focused on Instagram at the moment, just experimenting, playing around. One of the questions I wanted to ask you was, as a marketer, how important is it for us to have an audience as marketers?
Oh, that's a great question. So it's kind of one of those double-edged swords things. On one hand, do you have this saying, "A cobbler's child has no shoes"? Is that a
Hmm.
saying over where you? Okay, so uh, on one hand, I often feel like a cobbler's child because, of course, my content comes last. All my clients' work comes first. But then on the other hand, if they're coming to you, they want to see that you are doing well and kind of have some clout. So,
Right.
most of my business is referral based at this point. Honestly, I haven't run the numbers recently, but it's above 75%. So I don't have to worry about it as much because when being so niche, it's a small, people tell their friends,
Community.
whatever. So I
Hmm.
really think it just kind of depends on your niche. But um, our mutual mentor, Sunny Leonarduzzi, was actually the one who gave me the courage to niche down to just serving health and wellness. And I think this is hopefully a really helpful nugget for your audience. I was really scared to do that because for a while I did have mostly health people as my clients, but I also had a couple real estate agents. I had a hairdresser. I just didn't enjoy doing their content, but I was so
Hmm.
afraid to say, no, I just do these people's. And when I did, my business tripled in 1 month because you become that magnet. So there really is something to say for being so niche, especially in the beginning, which I know that word just like gets beat to death in our space. It's like if I
Yeah.
hear the word niche one more time, but it's true. So I do see there's this fabulous woman I follow on Instagram. It's Glow Graphics, GLO graphics, and it's Glow Autonomous. Do you know her?
I have
She's
not.
so she's a creator, she's a traveler. She started off as a travel blogger, really big into Instagram about probably 10 years ago when it first started.
Hmm.
And so her content is kind of all over the place. She's got travel content, she has inspirational content, she has some Instagram tips thrown in there. But she can get away with that because she's built this audience over 10 years. But when you're
Hmm.
first getting started, I really think like if you're a health coach, you have to say, I treat thyroid. You know what I mean? Like you really have to. It's not that people aren't going to come to you for other things. I mean, I have a CBD company who is one of our clients. I kind of have some like peripheral people, who are like, well, this is close enough. I have like a birth doula, things like that. So it's not saying that other people aren't going to come to you,
Hmm.
but it really does help you um, grow your own audience and do your own thing faster in the beginning because you could become the go-to. That's kind of a
Right.
roundabout way of answering your question, but what do you think?
Yeah, this is also the drive for me. Referral traffic is great. Referral clients are great. I've had the experience where it kind of dries out for a few months. It's like
Mm-hmm.
people are, I don't know, maybe not talking about me, not thinking about me, whatever. And so it's not quite feast or famine as freelancers or marketers would say, but it's like, yes, I think I need to have at least a following or at least a few numbers, maybe vanity metrics, but at least some activity,
Mm-hmm.
um, not only for the education piece, but also for my own practice. Because if I can practice what I'm telling my clients to do, then I kind of look a little bit more credible. That's my approach.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've even had Instagram marketers, for example, and it depends on what it is that you're marketing. So my business coach now, she's a good friend of mine. She hates Instagram, so she gets all of her business through SEO and organic traffic, which is brilliant strategy because you own that. And you know so she doesn't post on Instagram, but that's also part of her messaging is you do not have to be on social media. So if I go to
Right.
her Instagram and see that there's tons of activity, I'm like, well, she's a fraud because she's saying you don't need Instagram yet she's posting all the time.
Yeah.
But just last month, I bought this hashtag program thing just because I was curious. I'm always tinkering. You're probably like this too. I'm always tinkering, just seeing what other people in our space are doing. So I'm like, ooh, do they know something I don't? And the answer is
Yeah.
usually no. But that's also validating as well, right? Like, okay, this is stuff I know. So I bought this hashtag program and I go to this particular hashtag program's Instagram and there's 3 posts on it total.
Hmm.
And so I canceled my subscription because like you're not even using
Right.
your own software. So
Right.
yeah, I think there's something to be said for that for sure for the marketers
Yeah.
who are listening.
So I know you're a fan of Later and
Planoly
Later.
is actually mine.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. But go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I know a lot of people are. Sorry, I could call you out there.
Yeah.
A lot of people are fans of Later, and it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
nice to see, when these software companies, Later, Canva, Planoly, like all
Mm-hmm.
of these companies are actually putting out content that's getting
Yes.
that's going viral, that's getting activity, the responding in the comments. There's a lot of social engagement there, even though they're like seen as more sort of what's the word, behind the scenes
Yeah,
support type things.
that's a great
And I
point.
really love that about because again, it's like if they're not practicing what they preach, then their software
Yeah,
can't evolve, right? So
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it's the same for us.
I love later too. It's just, when you get used to one particular program and you're just like, I can't learn something else.
Yeah,
So that's why we do Planoly. But
I
they're all
got you.
six and one half dozen of them. They're all the same
They all
roundabout.
do the same work. Yes.
Hmm.
Uh, Obviously, with Instagram going to video and kind of focusing more and more on video, from your point of view and also from your client's point of view, how has that transition affected your business, affected their businesses?
This is a hot topic right now, isn't it?
Yep.
So I just had a conversation with I have two lovely counterparts who help me. I always say I'm the creative and they're the make sure things go out on time for our clients. But I just had the conversation with them yesterday and I said, I'm wondering if like our current done for you services are 3 grid posts a week and 1 reel per week. Usually the client will film something for us, but well, I say usually about half of our clients film something for us. The other half, we're kind of struggling, like, what can we make into a video? Whether we're doing like a photo montage or stock video from Canva, or we get creative, right? But I said, I wonder if we need to start replacing that and just see I would love to just track the metrics over a month and see. Because something you said to me in your intro, you said, I'm playing around with Instagram. I
Hmm.
think that is the key word. And I'm going to go back to your video question, but I did want to touch on what you said about playing around, because I think so many people see these quote gurus and they think this is the way, this is the roadmap. Like the Jedi has, but really you just got to play around, because what works for you might not work for me, might not work for someone
Right.
else. So I love that you said that. So first things first is like, don't be afraid to experiment, because there are accounts who are still doing well, who are just posting infographic carousels every day or memes every day, right? So
Right.
it's not like you have to do this things a certain way, but we are going to start testing out, instead of 3 grid posts and 1 reel per week, we're going to start doing 2 and 2, just to see if it does anything with the metrics.
Hmm.
And I have a blog post if any of your listeners want to go refer to this, but I'm just a fan of very simple reels. If you notice mine, I very rarely, I mean, sometimes I'll do the funny lip dubs and stuff, but typically I'm like, just use your voice. I mean, like you have a
Yeah.
lovely accent, right? So if I never got to hear that, like that's part of your brand, and the spoken word is what sets humans apart from every other thing. I mean, I think people just hide behind these lip dubs and these dances. I'm like, I want to hear you talk. There was this
Right.
one marketer who I finally heard her voice, and she was Australian, and I love Australian accents. I'm like, I would be watching your videos more if I could hear you talk. So with video and with reels, I think one thing that keeps people from, like, to your question, that keeps people from wanting to do more videos, they think it's going to be more work. But really, I find a lot of times it's actually faster than creating a post, because you can just get on, put on the automatic closed captions and the story feature, throw it up
Hmm.
on a reel, just say, hey, here's the top 3 questions my clients asked me this week, blah, 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 blah. Like, it does not have to be fancy.
Right.
And the other thing I like is, I call it just like the 5-second video, because if it's a 5-second video, it loops.
Hmm.
My number one tip for growing your email list in the caption. And that's it. It's a 5-second looping video of whatever. It could be your dog running through the field, whatever. It doesn't matter. So you still harness the video, but you're treating it more like a normal grid post.
Hmm.
So that's what I have to say about the video. We're going to be testing. I'll report back.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think I've come to this conclusion of playing because I don't want to say failed on YouTube, but YouTube's just not as fun for me. And looking at your numbers as well, it's challenging. It's really difficult. YouTube is very,
Yeah.
very hard.
My goal for
Uh,
2022 was to do like a weekly YouTube video, and I just can't stick with it. It's hard.
yeah, YouTube is hard. And it requires a lot more dedication, a lot more editing, a lot more thought
Mhm.
and process. versus, like I put up a reel yesterday. It was midnight already, and I was like, oh shit, I don't have a reel today because I'm trying to do daily.
Hmm.
And I had some, I was standing on the side of a road, and I just took the cars like driving by, and I put some text on it, and I found a song, and I was like, okay, boop, done, and I went to bed. And I don't know that I couldn't sleep, but that reel got like 1100 or 1200 views in like 30 or 40 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh goodness, like here I am with this fancy camera and this audio and all the
Yes.
fancy stuff. And I was just standing on the side of the road, and I took this video that I had no idea what I was going to do with. And then out of desperation, I posted it, and it's doing something. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So I think play is the right attitude to use, no matter what platform, whether it's Instagram or Reels or YouTube or any of the platforms. So.
Yeah, and on the same video topic, I don't know if you have any data on this, but one thing we haven't done a lot of is longer form video on Instagram,
Mm,
because I just think, and I don't have the numbers to support this, right? This is just my being on the platform a lot conclusion. I
mhm.
think they did away with IGTV for a reason.
Yes.
And now, for those of you who are listening and you're like, I don't know what that means, they now have it. They just call it Instagram video. It's literally the same thing, but
Hmm.
it's just any video that's longer than a minute, and you can go up to, how long is it now? 60 minutes, I think, or
Yes, I
30
think
minutes.
so.
Yeah. I just don't think people go to Instagram for long form video. I don't think that's their intention when they go to the platform. And I
Hmm.
think that that's why longer video, like I said, I haven't done many unless it's like an Instagram live that I've been, made and pushed out to my feed. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's a long term play here because
Mm.
TikTok's also now at 10 minutes. You can do 10-minute
Oh,
videos on
really?
on
See, I don't know
TikTok.
anything about TikTok. Yeah. Okay.
And so I think there's a long term play going where what they're kind of phasing hashtags out, or like nobody really knows, but hashtags are not as important, in my opinion, as and again, like it's testing,
I
but
was
they
say
say it's
remind me
not.
to remind me to talk to you about that after. But go ahead.
Sure, yeah. So this is my theory anyway. Uh, so because they're focusing more on the SEO side, it's like,
Hmm.
okay, if it's becoming a search-based platform over the next 2, 3, 600 years, whatever, then long form content on Instagram makes sense because they are going after YouTube's traffic. So there's there's that
Mm-hmm.
kind of in the long term play, and then there's metaverse, and there's all this other connection to Facebook and people searching on Facebook, and there's a much bigger picture going on. Um, Tell me about hashtags. I'm curious.
Well, no, I was just going to go back to you talking about the search function, because that used to be my biggest gripe with Instagram video. It's like if I wanted to go look at a makeup tutorial, it's not like it's YouTube where I can easily go search it, right? It's like you have
Right.
to hope that they use the right hashtag, so maybe they rank and maybe you find them. So yeah, that's actually a great point. This is why I love having conversations with peers, because you're like, ooh, something to pontificate. So hashtags. The majority of my business is, or our business is, local. So they draw a local audience.
Hmm.
And I think I look at hashtags a little differently. I don't look at hashtags as, did I rank right then? How much reach did these hashtags get me?
Hmm.
I encourage, and for our clients, we use very niche hashtags that even if they're really small, I think of it as their little corner of Instagram where they kind of get to live on forever.
Sure.
So, one really good example from, well, I'll give you two examples, one that's brick and mortar, like local business, and one that's not. When we first moved to where we live now, I was looking for a hairstylist. And so it's a pretty small town. So if I were to type in, like, Chicago hairstylist, I would have gotten a bajillion, but I'm in a small town. So I did, like Gulf Breeze hairstylist. And the results were pretty limited, but I found my hair girl that way. And it was a post from like 2 years before,
Oh, interesting.
that she had used, but I found her that way. And I'm actually going to her mind. I've been going to her for years now. So that's one way to think about it with hashtags. Another way to think about it is I recently switched. Well, not, it's been about a year now. Everything over to Kartra,
Hmm.
I think we've talked about that.
Yep.
And I was looking for a Kartra specific virtual assistant. And I'm like, I'm willing to pay more that I can just be hands off. I don't have to train you. You already know the software. So on Instagram, I searched the hashtag Kartra VA. And it was a very small pool, but there are people. I mean, I didn't end up going with any of those people, but it's just an example that it's that small pool and it's your little corner of the internet where you live.
Mm.
But on the flip side of immediate reach, we've still seen, I was running, I don't have my phone in front of me. I was running the numbers. All of our clients who are brick and mortar and virtual, who pull a virtual, they're still getting reach from hashtags. We're still maxing out on 30 hashtags on every post. And we're getting at least, let's see, what would that be like? At least anywhere from 40 to 200 extra eyeballs, which for really small accounts is a lot of
Is a
extra
lot.
eyeballs.
Yeah. Wow.
So I don't think
Yeah,
they're
that's
dead.
interesting.
I think
Yeah.
people like
Yeah.
to
Well,
think things. Well,
I mean,
Adam Mosseri said that. He's like, oh, well, they don't really. I'm like, not true.
well, I don't think they can turn it off
Right,
instantly because
right.
the whole of Instagram is built on hashtags, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
think of early days Twitter. Twitter was also very hashtag friendly, very hashtag crazy as well. But today people don't use it as much unless it's like a very specific, community that's using just that hashtag, or it's one hashtag in the tweet. But yeah, this is a space to look out for. I'm honestly just lazy to go look for hashtags and think of what hashtags. I have many lists somewhere on my Google Drive or somewhere, but yeah, the process of putting them in is sometimes tricky. Again, I'm just
Well, again,
lazy.
being so niche, it's easier for me, I think, because it's like chiropractic marketing. It's like a pretty small hashtag, and I like to be
Yeah.
ranking there because that's where I want people to find me. And so yeah, when you are, it's easier. And if you're in the health space, I would say if you just draw a local audience, definitely look at your local hashtags, as many as possible. And then on top of that, I have found symptom based hashtags to perform better than um, like what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say disease based, but say you have PCOS, which is the
Hmm.
polycystic ovarian syndrome. Instead of using a PCOS hashtag, if that's something you treat, a symptom of that they might have usually does better,
Okay.
because when you go with the more condition, that's the word I'm looking for. If you go more condition based, really you'll just see a lot of other people who have that, or like a lot of other health coaches in your space who do that. So I've found the symptom based tends to do a little better and draw a little better audience. But another thing to keep in mind, excuse me, is that if you put your hashtags in the caption itself, not in the first comment, that still gets picked up in Instagram keyword, as you said, SEO. So
Hmm.
if you have a green smoothie recipe and you didn't actually use the words green smoothie in the caption, but you used a hashtag green smoothie, you would still pick up in that keyword search. So
Right.
that's another thing with, if you can't find a way to weave these keywords into your caption, you can still put them in as hashtags and then get picked up that way.
Right. Similar to tags on YouTube, even though they say tags are not so important. But
One
yeah.
thing we're going to start trying, and I have no idea if it's going to work, but we're going to start putting almost a little like bio at the bottom of every caption for our
Ah.
clients. So like, Dr. Sam Smith is a chiropractor in the city of Arlington, Virginia,
Hmm.
who treats pediatric, almost like a little blurb. Because I'm just
Right.
curious. I just want to see what it does.
Yeah.
Might do nothing. I don't know.
I have seen a few marketers do that.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
every post, but maybe strategically. I mean, obviously, people are like DM the word so and so, and
Mm-hmm.
I will send you my free blah blah blah. Like, yeah, that's in the captions, and I guess that's a good segue into selling on Instagram because I know
Yes.
that's what we initially said we were going to talk about. So, what's the strategy to sell? Because you know, sometimes it feels a little bit icky, like you're making content, it's fun, you're dancing, you're blurbing, you're memeing, whatever the case may be. And then it's like we're trying to take people seriously. We want them to go to the website or whatever. What's the process? Like, demystify this thing for me, please.
I don't think it's any mystery. I think people make it. I think as marketers as a whole, we need to get the whole like it's icky, don't sell without being salesy, like all of that out of vocabulary, out of our brains. Because here's the way I look at it, and this is not a novel idea that I came up with. I mean, but you are doing someone a disservice if you do not promote your products, your services. They need what now, if you're trying to sell ice to Eskimos, then sure. But if you know you have a service that actually provides them with the solution they are looking for, then you are actually doing them a disservice by not talking about it. So that simple little reframe to me just trickles down through everything. And I've seen the results that my clients and students, because I have a holistic marketing hub as well. It's more of um, a DIY, for the people who can't do full Instagram management. Mm-hmm. And I've seen the results they've gotten, and they're getting new patients in their clinic and new clients. And I know it works. So I'm doing them a disservice if I don't talk about it, because I'm not helping them. So that's one key thing. And I know that's not a tactic, or, it's just kind of more like woo woo, but it's true.
It's important.
Yeah, it's so important. And the other thing is, I was just researching this last week. You know how they used to call it the marketing rule of 7? Mm-hmm. People need to hear or see something 7 times to take action. I think now I saw something in Forbes. It was like, it's up to like 21 times. So I use, actually, if you're watching the video, the eyeshadow I'm wearing is from a company called Thrive Cosmetics. I saw those ads for a year.
Oh, goodness.
Just for the eyeshadow. Okay. And I finally was like, you know what? I'm almost out. Like I'll buy it. And I spent like 50 something dollars. And I get to their website, and little do I know, they've got mascara and lipstick and all this other thing. But going back to the whole niche thing, the only thing I ever saw ads for was the eyeshadow. And so it was like, buy our eyeshadow. So I think the first thing about demystifying is don't give people too many options to sell. Like, don't be like, hey, you could do this program, or you could have this, or you could download this, or you could go to the, so a few ways to simplify is one is your call to action. Don't have multiple calls to action in your caption. Don't ask people to comment their favorite emoji, like this post, send it to a friend, and go to the link in your bio. They're like, which one do you want me to do? Right. And just know that if your call to action is click the link in my bio, it's okay to see fewer comments or likes, because you don't want them taking their time to comment. You want them to be clicking, and then you want to check your website clicks, right, for that post.
Yes.
But that's why I love the word DM, the whole DM me the word, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people have the automated software that'll send stuff. I personally, most of my sales and things are made in my DMs and relationships. And so I don't want a robot talking to my people. But I know for a lot of bigger people, they do that. And again, if you do the word DM me, the word, free guide, then again, you're not going to see a lot of comments, and that's okay. You want to see DMs.
Right.
So simplifying your offers. Do you know Denise Duffield Thomas? Have you ever heard of her? She's an Australian money mindset coach. She's a riot. And she always talks about how like she's a multi-passionate entrepreneur, but she's like made herself just focus on her money bootcamp course because it works and it makes money. And she's talked about it for years. So I know as entrepreneurs, we're always like, oh, what's the next new program? I'm so guilty of this. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do this. It's like, focus. So for a year, I got these Thrive Cosmetic eyeshadow ads, and I finally bought, So simplify your call to action, simplify your products, make it super easy. I am not a fan of complicated funnels and, people who have like a launch method. A lot of times it's like, well, you can't buy at these times, but you got to get on this wait list. And now you're on a deadline timer. And I'm very, I do give people incentives to buy and do use deadline timers, but also it's like very simple. It's like, you want to buy it now, you're going to pay full price, but every once in a while I give $100 off, and that's it. Like, you can buy it anytime. Right. You can wait for sale. It's not that big. You can always go find it. And the other big thing I see with selling is the link in your bio. You ever gone to
Mhm.
someone's link in bio and there's like 10 links on there or
Oh
15
man.
links? Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to have it as simple as possible. Don't give people tons of different options and things to click on. And instead of having like website or blog, you would put like free marketing tips, click here,
Hmm.
very clear. And if you are in launch or promotion mode, I usually just change out the link in my bio to be just that one thing. So if you're having a
Right.
20% off sales supplements, and you just have that one link in your bio and you don't have a whole bunch of other stuff. And one thing I saw yesterday that was a total reframe, and I'm so glad the universe put this in my inbox right before our conversation. But it was like, you wonder why cold outreach and DMs and cold conversations feel weird, because they are. You want people to come to your DMs primed, they've consumed
Hmm.
your content, they already know you're an authority. You're not having to prove that in your DMs. I
Correct.
thought that was an excellent reframe. I'm like, heck yeah, that's like do you have a lot of multi-level marketing things out there? Is it a thing?
Right.
So for us, like, hey girl, I know we haven't talked since high school, but I've partnered with this great company. It's like nobody wants to see. No. Um,
Yeah.
Show me your products work, on with through your content. And then if I'm interested, I'll contact you. Or you can still contact them. That's why I love Instagram stories. If
Hmm.
somebody's got a story up, you reply to their stories, just like a normal conversation, not like you went to Starbucks and said, say I was trying to make a mom friend, and here, I'll do this. Say I was trying to make a mom friend in my new city and I'm on the playground and I'm like, hey, can I have your phone number? You look like you have a kid my age. Instead, I would be like, hey, I have that stroller. You know what I mean? You find that common ground. So,
Right. Your eyes are blue like mine.
yeah,
Yeah, I got you.
hello. I love that swaddle. Anyway, so talk to them like a normal human instead of just going straight into like, hey girl, I love what you're doing with your business. Can I show you what I have to offer? Like, no, I don't know
Right.
you.
Yeah. That's more direct selling. So just to summarize, right? So we've got call to actions in the caption. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's like a DM me or go to the bio or something of that nature. Then we've got obviously the bio, the link in the bio. So keep it simple, keep it strategic based on the thing that you're talking about right there and then. Okay, fine. And then we've got stories where we've got the URL goody, Bob, right?
Yes.
So we can send people to specific places, and then also comment below, or send me a message, DM, similar story thing. What else is there?
So I've been doing a lot of I've been doing a lot of comment below instead of DM me the word whatever. I've been doing comment the word. I
Yes.
find that's easier because then people don't have to leave the post,
Mm,
right? And then I'm DMing them the thing, because there's that little reply feature right in comments now. The other thing I was just going to say in terms of selling is, well, I'll say two things, but one is if you're trying to get somebody, if you have a blog with organic content or a lot of lead magnet, you're trying to get people to your email list, because that's to me that's the goal, is to get people on your email list. I don't like to just promote a lead magnet or a blog post carte blanche, like, hey, go, I've got this lead magnet, go get it. I like to give a little snippet of it in the
mm,
caption and say, for the rest, here's the first 5 tips. For the other 5, go download my thing. So that's one
right.
tip. That's one thing I see people doing wrong, like, new blog post up, go check it out. I'm like, no, you gave me no incentive to leave this app. I am entranced.
Right. You need to
um
hook them.
yes, absolutely. So I mean, I wouldn't do anything like, here's half of the recipe, for the other half go. But
Leave out the chicken, right?
yeah. No, you understand what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
and then the other thing is collaboration. I know this is something we talked about. Like, collaboration has been my golden goose, and I
Mm,
hate when marketers use hyperbole, but it really has. It has been my golden goose, and it's what's better than one audience too. So just like you and I right now, or joint collab reels are
mm,
great. uh, Joint Instagram lives, those are all fantastic. ways to, and then have a really strong call to action. So if it's you're doing a joint Instagram live with somebody in your like complimentary in your space, you can put that live link right in the live, to learn more about what we're talking about, click this link and make it something to get on your email list.
Okay, so here's a question which is from myself, right?
Yes.
In booking this interview with you, I was debating in my mind whether to record this for the podcast. So this is on Zoom, and we're using Zoom tools and all these things. And I'll be editing and da 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 da,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll go through the sausage factory and come out the other side as an audio and transcript and all these things. But I was like, we could have done an Instagram live,
Mm-hmm.
and so I haven't done a collab with Instagram Live, but for purposes of repurposing, that's a weird sentence to say, but would it have been possible for us to have done this live on Instagram and then downloaded that file and converted it into a podcast episode?
I don't know how she did it, but the one that I just posted on my feed, the one you messaged me about this morning with Dr. Lauren, it was an Instagram live that we did. And then she took the audio and made it into a podcast. I will say the audio quality is not good because we
Okay.
were just on a live. And I just read something last night. I'm reading this book called Peak Mind about focus and our attention. And apparently, if audio quality is bad, it stresses out our brain,
Yep.
and we're more likely to put up with bad quality video than we are audio.
Yes.
So I'm not sure that's the best strategy. I almost think it's better to just do it twice, which I know I hate to say that. Like people say, like, well, it's more time. But I've tried to figure out ways. I've tried to figure out ways to repurpose and just do things once. And with this video, we're 16:9 aspect
Mm-hmm.
ratio for the non-nerds. That just means that
It's
we're
widescreen.
landscape. Yeah,
Yes.
widescreen. And if you try to turn this into a reel, it's not going to get as great of reach because it's not vertical. It's not 9 by
Yes.
16. So that's something I even asked Sunny. I was like, has anybody cracked this code on how I can, I have turned reels into YouTube videos where, on the outskirts, we put like a stock 16:9 video in the background and
Mm-hmm.
just put our reel in the center. I mean, I don't have enough data to be like, yeah, that works, but I found that it just depends on where do you enjoy creating,
Mm-hmm.
make that your home base and then go from there.
Yeah, I'm with you on the doing it twice, but that would mean us scheduling another thing, and we could,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, I mean that makes sense, and of course Instagram wants us to use the tools natively, which is why they haven't opened it up to like stream from other places and all of these
Mm-hmm.
things. They've kept it very tight, uh, just native to the tool itself, which is fine.
Yeah. And it's a different feel to me. It's a little more, not that this isn't casual, but it's a different, you know, I don't know. It's just different. And then you've got people chatting in and you can answer
Right.
questions in the chat. To me, Q&As are great for Instagram lives. If you are going to do Instagram lives, I've found there's two ways that work well. One is just to have a recurring series, which is like, so people just know to expect you and go in and do some Q&A. The other one is just if you're going to have a live, you would just promote it like you would promote any other event, but just popping on live if you've got a relatively small audience, not a lot of, I mean, I don't know. But on the same hand, it is like you got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly.
And it's low
Exactly.
barrier to enter. You can just hop on and then you've got a video you can put to your feed. But on the Instagram live thing, you don't want to do, I'm just going to wait on a couple more people to pop on. You can't do that. You got to just start talking because once it goes to your feed, no one's going
Yeah.
to watch that.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, so you spoke about mostly getting clients through referrals and obviously DMs. How are things going on? So you spoke about the hub and your sort of done for you services. You spoke
Mm-hmm.
about your sort of do it yourself services.
Mm-hmm.
How are things going just in business in general? Like what's the market like at the moment?
for my business or for
Mm-hmm.
my client. Yeah. Things have
Both.
actually been, for me, I'm already ahead of what I made last year at this time by double. So things are going
Ooh.
well. I think it's like finally, the first 2 years I was broke. And then it's like, you just gotta, I remember my business coach being like, you're at the tipping point. I swear you are. You just gotta push over it. You're just like, oh, I'm so frustrated. But I think once you get past that point, and I think you start to just trust your own instincts and your own, this is what I enjoy. This is what's working for my business. I'm not doing what some other guru says I have to do to be successful. Just like you were saying, I don't really like YouTube. I enjoy Instagram more, whatever. There are a million ways to get from point A to Z.
Right.
And I think once you get a little more into business, you realize that there is no one golden path.
Right.
And once you kind of find your groove and what works for you, and like you said, you're not afraid to play around and experiment, that's when I really started finding the success. And like I said, the referrals, collaborations have been, like I said, my biggest. And anybody can collaborate. I've had people say, wow, there's nobody. Yeah, there is. If you're let's go back to say you're a functional medicine doctor and you're helping people with thyroid issues, maybe you collaborate with a habit coach, like a life coach that helps people through habits, because what good is any nutrition or supplement protocol if the people can't change their habits? So, or if you're a local brick and mortar business, maybe say you're a massage therapy place, you say, hey, we're going to collaborate with this coffee shop and get an herbal tea after your massage. Like, you do a joint Instagram post, you do a joint. I mean, I saw the cutest, my town that I live in has a little main street, and they did the cutest reel of all of them, just all the shops on Main Street holding up one of their products. And then they like put it to the camera, and then that was the transition. And then like the next shop, did their product. And it was like, come shop downtown Palafox, and it was just so cute. So it doesn't have to be anybody can collaborate.
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, I think it's one of those things where people have perhaps this competition mindset where it's like, oh no, I don't want to talk to my competitors. Well, okay, fine, but there are other ways to do it. There are other people who have your clients
Mm-hmm.
who want to share your clients because it gives gives the clients a good experience.
Yeah, I like the complimentary. Like, if you can find someone that's complimentary to you, it's fantastic. Or,
Mhm.
I have a lot of chiropractors who, treat pregnant women, something like that. So maybe you find a doula or midwife or birth center or whatever you collaborate with. There's the possibilities are endless for sure. I just did a bunch of freebie swaps
Mm.
going into I just did a little launch, and it was just, I just emailed a couple people in my network, and I'm like, hey, do you have something you're promoting or you want me to share? I'll email it to my list, and here's my thing. You email it to your list. And I grew my email list by 225 targeted people in 2 weeks, which for me,
Very
running
cool.
0 ads, to me, that's huge. I mean, I know for a lot of people, they've got this huge list. To me, I was like, whoa, is this? So yeah, the freebie lead magnet swap thing was great.
Cool. Speaking of which, what have you got for people on the podcast?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Let me pick my favorite right now. Go to mollycahill.com/reels, and that's CAHILL. Gives you 101 reels prompts. It's actually more than 101 now, but I didn't want to change the name because 101 sounds cool. Like 109 doesn't really sound. um, it's 101 reels prompts without, lip dubbing, singing, dancing. They're just very basic prompts, and a lot of them even have examples. So that's just mollycahill.com/reels.
Cool. The link will be in the show notes. Molly, thank you so much. Any parting words of advice to people who are scared to do video on Instagram?
Yeah, parting words. So, first of all, just from a statistical point of view, usually videos with people's faces perform better. A. B. Every market is saturated. And what's going to make someone choose you over your competition is usually going to be because they see your face and feel some type of connection with you. And C, if you still can't get past it, then start off by filming things like, let's see, what have I got on my desk here? Like, oh, here's my favorite candle. And just like use your voice in the background, right? And then you can kind of dip your toes in the 101 Reels prompts has some of those as well. Where it's like, here's my 3 favorite supplements. Boom, boom, boom. Like you can just show the product and your voice
Mhm.
in the background and then work your way up. There's my
Cool.
tips.
Molly, thank you so much. Always a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Yes,
A-
thank you.
And thanks for doing this on Easter Friday. And if you're listening to this after Easter Friday, I hope you had a good Easter and spent some time with the family.
Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome.